Welcome to Mindshifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, January the 27th, 2026. And while we're waiting on Michael to get on, I'll just say I went back to the orthopedic. I broke my foot on October the 31st. And I went back in a month and it hadn't done anything. And went back in another month and it hadn't done anything. But I was able to wear a regular shoe and compression socks and get along with it. However, I was favoring the outside of my foot, so the ball underneath my big toe got sore. And so I went back today and, well, Michael had ordered the first part of January a couple of supplements. And I started taking those. And one was a comfrey salve, and then I can't remember the name of the horsetail and something else. And anyway, I went back today and it gave me insoles to try to make me walk like I'm supposed to walk to protect that part of my foot. But the bone was halfway healed from the inside going outward. So it's halfway healed, and hopefully these insoles will make me walk straight. And so that was good news. So welcome, Michael.
Was awesome news.
Yeah.
I lament and I apologize that I didn't think of it when you first broke it and way back. It's been a long time since I did anything with so-called physical medicine, and I know how to heal non-union fractures, and it just never came into my mind. It's been so long. So after that 60-day visit, when you said, "Oh, nothing's happened," it's like, duh, I know the answer to this. So my apology for not bringing it forward earlier.
It's okay. It's working now.
And yeah, that's pretty cool. What, in 23 days we figured out you're 50% of the way there. In 60 days it did 0. That's a nice shift. So welcome, everybody. How do you be? Glad you're here. Well, anything exciting happening for anyone? Anything to share? Questions, thoughts, answers, ideas?
I have a question.
Well, everybody's go for it, young lady.
Hi, Lucy. Did you want to go first? Let's see.
Oh, that doesn't matter. Yeah,
you
really.
go ahead, because you go ahead.
Well, I was just like thinking about breath. So, I don't remember if I ever heard you, Michael, speak about that. Well, obviously, you speak a lot about breath, and this is. My question is about some other type of breath, where we have like 4 inhale, hold, inhale. So about all this holding, what is your thinking about that? Is any use in your opinion from that? So I mean, I have my experiences, but I really want to know yours, because it does include holding the breath.
What includes holding the breath?
Some other type of breathing.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a big transformation happened for me in understanding the breath when I did a quantum still point on myself, which you can't really do, but I did what I could of it. And what I came to understand was that the breath is what reveals things to us. It's the thing that uncovers in us and collapses perception in a way that we have direct access to the actuality of the world rather than the realities in our minds. That Harvard research that says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells are firing, the maximum amount of data that goes into conscious mind, into perception, is 9 bits of data. So we have this little tiny 9-bit screen. And most of us live our whole lives there and think that what that little tiny 9-bit screen serves up from carbon-based memory is what's actually going on in the world, when it is never what's going on in the world. It actually, especially if there's hostility or fear in the system, seldom even references what's going on in the world. It's simply a reflection of the content of that which generates the pictures in the mind. And if you look at the culture, what we're taught from day one in this particular Western culture is to live in denial of truth and to very early, like I'd estimate by the age of 4, to become members of the one world universal religion of blame. And so the mind is well trained to generate pictures of how everything that's going on inside of me is somebody else's fault. And there's only one resolution to that lie, to that fraud. There's only one way to heal that. One is to apply forgiveness to those constructs of the mind. And then you remember, if you look at the worksheet that we've developed, several times there's a reminder to breathe, because that's where the real work gets done. So about 45 years ago, I discovered what I ended up calling still point breathing. I had been trained in classic breath work, and I was in a trauma situation. I had no one there to breathe me. I had been trained that if your breath stops, you're holding it, you're going unconscious, you get a jab in the ribs and you're told to breathe. So this particular day, I can remember exactly where I was. I was in Atlanta at a center there on Ponce de Leon Boulevard. And I had some stuff up and I needed to breathe, and there was nobody there to support me. So I just went in and started to breathe myself. After a little while of breathing, I found myself becoming aware that my breath had stopped. I wasn't holding it, but my breath had stopped, and my mind kind of went into a panic of, oh, you're supposed to be breathing. You better take a breath. And the instruction that came was, no, you're not holding your breath. This is just the point where you're in high-speed process. Accompanying that experience was this noise that I became aware of in my head. And it was a noise like a tape recorder on high-speed fast forward. And it's just like, data running by, like you're in a data center and listening to high-speed data going. And I freaked out. I said, what is this? Stop, slow this down. And it slowed down. And what I was shown is, this is being released, this is being changed to this is being changed to that. It was just like running through things that I needed to heal. So I said, okay, go for it. And came out of the still point and began to breathe again. And that went on, once I kind of got over my freak out, that went on for, I don't know, probably an hour or more. And I kind of freaked out again in another still point. It's like, wait, slow this down. And it was that changing happening. I completed the process and realized that over time, as I started to learn to speak about it and share it with people, that when the breath spontaneously stops, different than being held, you're at a process point where resistance is overcome. There is sufficient vitality to move into high-speed process, and the processing is happening not on a mental level, which, in breath circles, when people are told, oh, you're going unconscious, but the breath has just stopped, it's not that they're going unconscious, it's just that the mind isn't used to being conscious of that level of processing. And for me, that was a point where I became aware of that level of processing, and it became okay, and it became the core of my work. It really was a shift point of everything I did. At that time, I had a naturopathic practice in Atlanta, and but the breath work became really the focal point and the core. So that's my opening to the breath. And so I have not utilized other forms of breathing work where you breathe in for 5 and then you hold on for 5 and then you let go for 5, or you do 10 or you do 50 or you hold your breath for 10 minutes or, any of those. I just haven't done it. So I really don't have an opinion there. But so all these years I've been doing breath work. I had a practice in Atlanta, or pardon me, when I moved to South Florida for about 7 years. All I did in my work was breathe people. I worked 3 long days a week. I'd start at 7 in the morning before people went to work. I'd have my first client. I'd breathe them. I have my second client at 9 o'clock. I have my third client. And that was my day up through until I had classes those evenings. So up until 7 in the evening when I had classes. But I never had a breath practice of my own. Like if something was up for me, I'd breathe, but I didn't engage in it as a daily practice. When I did the quantum still point, I became aware that the breath was the factor that was making a difference and was exposing things. And so I began to do more of a personal practice with breathing, with the still point breath. And then I was doing some research, and this is really where it accelerated. I was recently working on the foreword for Jeannie's book, Healing Generations One Breath at a Time. And I went back to the most ancient of Aramaic manuscripts that I could find, and there found an Aramaic translation of the creation story that instead of being, the creator breathed into man, that's nostrils, the breath of life, and man became a living soul, what it said was the creator breathed into our nostrils, the breath of life, and we became a speaking, thinking being. And that was just like, a massive opening for me. Oh, there is no intelligence in the clay. In that creation story, they're talking about the dust of the earth. The clay, the dust is stupid. It has nothing. It does nothing. It's just a reflection of whatever is put in it. It's organized, and the intelligence that it appears to have comes from the breath. And that was just several weeks ago. So now I spend anywhere from an hour to 3 hours a day in still point breathing. That's how I start my day pretty much every day. And what I realize is that the breath is intelligence in the body. The breath is what enlivens the body. It's not oxygen. We've been taught a semi-definition of breath. Oh, you breathe, you get oxygen, you live. If the oxygen's cut off because you stop breathing, you die. But that's like maybe 10% of the definition of the breath. The rest of it is, it's life, it's intelligence, it's healing. So based on that, I'm giving you the rationale for why I say holding your breath, I'm not for it. It doesn't make sense to me. It is the breath that. Now, there are people who I know have done, swear on a Bible. They're just all. I just have found for me this is adequate, and so that's my take on the breath. And what I've found is that for me now, to a degree, way back when in Atlanta, 4.5 decades ago, I did this. Stuff's in my face and I breathe. But now it doesn't have to be stuff in my face. It doesn't have to be something I need to heal. That's basically what I had thought of it as and was using it for. But now I find what I'm learning is if I need an understanding, if I need a shift in energy, if I need information, I go to the breath. And that's where it comes from. So for me, it's been a whole, since I discovered that definition and realized what it sort of for me filled up my meaning, my understanding of the breath. And so it's like a much bigger thing than I had been taught or I thought it was. And so that's, literally it is intelligence. And I don't know if you've been on one of the shows, and I've shared this a few times lately, so I'll just do it in short form. But in Hawaii, they call the white man a haole, which literally means greets without breath. And, if you look at what the haoles have done in Hawaii, if breath is intelligence and we greet without breath, then we greet without intelligence. And you look at the fact that, the Kingdom of Hawaii was a internationally recognized country and kingdom. An American businessman went in, stole it. Just flat out in our lifetime, stole it from the Hawaiians. Threatened militarily to imprison the queen of the islands. And it became a possession of the United States. I mean, it literal, flat out, just kind of like what somebody's talking about today in the culture, going and stealing somebody else's, another island. And so when the Haole says greets without breath, what I hear, and this to me just helps make it clear, it's greets without intelligence. If we face anything without breath, we're facing it without intelligence. And that means that we're facing it with just whatever the advisors are in our structure. So if the generational advisors are, you got to fight, you got to struggle, you got then that's what we have to work with. But if we actually engage in breath in any situation where there's a challenge, we've literally got the revealer of the actuality of the world, rather than our little 9-bit minds. Using forgiveness collapses the content of the 9-bit mind, the past generational stuff, and the breath gives us access to the whole of the creation, which it's been estimated in that time frame where we have 9 bits of data available through the perceptual mind, that the actuality may contain as much as 20 trillion bits of data. It gives us access to that. So that's kind of my take on the breath.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
And I appreciated your willingness in the session the other night to just keep following your breath in, following your breath in, following your breath in. And what you uncovered, what you became aware of, was done by the breath. It's never going to be done by the mind. It's never going to be done by my mind or your mind or my words or your words. It's the breath that's going to do that for us. And, to me, we're here to support each other in remembering that and going back to it. One of the things that today I had a shift in thinking, Susan, based on something you've been talking about for some time now, or maybe from the beginning, is the whole idea of the amygdala hijack. And I was actually doing some writing on the breath this morning. What I realized is it's actually a breath hijack. The amygdala just follows the lack of breath.
Yeah.
So what's hijacked is the breath. That comes first. And to restore that keeps the amygdala where it's designed, doing the function it's designed to do for being. So thank you for repeating that. Amygdala hijack. It's not, that's a term I've heard before, but it's the breath hijack. That's it. Yeah. So thank you for saying that often enough and long enough for me to go, oh,
that's what you meant.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, realizing it's the breath that does that hijack. It's not, the amygdala can't do it.
Yeah.
And our culture teaches us to hold our breath.
Yeah, exactly.
Teaches us to lock it down.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to point out a thing, and then I got my questions for you. Because you called the play, when you were talking about man, you used the word stupid. You called it stupid. And we know that's an opinion, right? And so it's inert. The clay is inert. It has nothing until life is breathed into it, in which you talked about it being, when you breathe life, that produces the thinking. We wanted to be the spiritual
and language.
And the great revealer, right? That's the breath, the great revealer of truth, the truth of actuality.
Yeah.
And if we can rest into the breath, that's what gets revealed. And if we allow it,
a mechanism.
Lucy's willingness to, and of course, that was a beautiful example, Lucy, of being, facing, and I'm sure how uncomfortable it would have felt going there and facing these big feelings and what's locked in the physiology. And likely wasn't even it's some of it, in your experience, but also ancestrally, just letting it come out, all those layers. I could, I was just witnessing that. So
Susan, I'm sorry. So actually, it's funny. I sometimes call myself masochist because I don't as uncomfortable as like I really so welcome that.
Yeah.
Like I almost enjoy it, if you will.
Good.
So
Well, that's a good
I know
thing that
where it's
you're
going.
healing.
It's a healing, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, good.
You know?
It was really
That's
courageous to go
yeah.
where you went. I mean, when you went into the depth of
Oh,
that issue around, gee, I have to choose between my life or my daughter's life, to
yeah.
touch into that kind of a memory, that's courageous. And it's only the breath. No amount of talking anybody could do will ever take you there,
Yeah.
but the breath will. Every time that you trust it, trust Ruka. And put it in the context of this Western society with its so-called Christianity, and you go back and you look at the passage with Yeshua where Yeshua says, "You can deny me, but don't deny your breath." Now, the culture, there was a degradation of the original Aramaic words, and what has been translated by the Western world as the Holy Spirit. There's no such concept in the Aramaic language. There's no such concept in Yeshua speaking. When he talked about, and the Greeks give us this bastardization, I'll say, of the denial of the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. That's what the Greek so-called, the Greek misinterpretation of the scriptures say. But what it was saying, in essence, long form, is not Holy Spirit, but whole breath. What's whole breath? Still point. Whole breath. And the denial of that power which performs forgiveness within our physiology. If I deny it, i.e., I hold my breath, then the power that creates the healing can't have access, and I'm stuck in unforgiveness. It's not that there's some big, terrible, unforgivable sin, or this thing called the breath, or what the Greeks called the Holy Spirit, is like a thin skin and going to to heck with you. It's just it's in our hands. If I won't allow the breath to move at depth through my structure, then whatever's in my structure, generationally, whatever's in my genes, it's going to be stuck there. We're stuck in unforgiveness. And so with so much of the Western world focused on Jesus, 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 he was a way shower to the breath. Many people call him the way shower, but he isn't the way shower to the Creator. He's the way shower to the breath. He says, don't deny me, that's okay, or blaspheme me, speak against me. He's like, no big deal. Now, of course, that's not what the churchianity wants to hear, because they've got something built on calling him something different than that. But if you listen to his words, he says, it's not about me. It's about staying connected with the breath that enlivens you, which is literally your direct shared breath with the Creator. And for me, that just enlarges our definition, our understanding of the breath. If I have something laying over here in the corner, and I think it can be used for this one thing, well, that's my understanding. I'll pick it up and I'll use it for that one thing. But if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, here's a whole list. There are 47 things that thing will do," well, now I pick it up and use it for 47 things rather than one. And so our definition of the breath is, well, it brings oxygen, so it keeps you alive. Okay. But it does so much more.
Yeah.
Mike,
So, but this is the, oh, someone interrupted. I just want to say that I have another goal, and it's not first time goal, but it's again reinstated, which I need to cancel probably. So I really would like to be able to get to reach the depth of that when I do my own practices. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened. So of course, when there is a space, and of course, where is the guidance, and now in context of what we're talking about, breath, so most likely I would not even notice that I stopped breathing. So, but you were reminding me of breathing, so that's how I was able to go deeper.
Right.
And actually, there are a couple of depths were there, not even
Yep.
one.
Yep.
So
It was very
this-
noticeable.
Mhm. Yeah, so this is like, but how I even don't quite understand how I can even learn that so I would be able to keep breathing, go in there and do something like that on my own. Is it possible?
Well, yeah, oh, absolutely. That's the whole
Is that
objective. There are two things involved. When people are first introduced to still point breathing, and I say this from experience because I lucked into it, I happened to find it, but there have been times when I would lay down to breathe, but I couldn't get that extra factor to kick in. I've started recently to refer to that as that in Aramaic, the word for the term for the breath is ruka dekucha. So ruka being the elemental forces, ruka dekucha being the breath intended by the Creator for humans. And so to get that dekucha factor to step into that level, in Aramaic there are 3 levels of breath. There's the breath that everything and everybody breathes. The cat, the dog, chicken, we all breathe. There's the breath that is sourced in and accompanied by confusion, pain, trauma, denial. And then there's Ruka Dekucha, the breath divinely intended for humans. And it is a breath that is the deliverer of the presence of love. And I've had times where to step into that process point where things start to move high speed, fast forward, I couldn't do it, couldn't get it going. I never understood it until I recently have stepped into this breath practice. And here's what I'm coming to understand. That in Aramaic, the word Satan does not mean some dude with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork. The word Satan means the deceiver, one who misleads, resistance. So Satan in Aramaic has got nothing to do with that guy out there that the Greeks have trained us to be terrified of, but rather it is literally the holding on, the tightening, the generational pattern of locking up. Think about the first time that, as an open, flowing, fully connected child of infant based in love and growing, think about the first time that a sharp, angry, pained voice raged at one. And what happened? Physiology contracted. Physiology tightened and went into resistance. If we have lived as card-carrying members of the one world universal religion of blame, from the day that we started to do that, we've lived with that Satan running our physiology. And many times, or most people, they come back to me and say, well, I did that still point breathing workshop with you, and that was fabulous. I went into this, and man, all kinds of stuff moved. But, I went home and I tried doing it on my own. I can't. Well, it's a practice. Number one for me is what I call the rule of the 3 Ps: practice, practice, practice. And until the monumental physiological resistance, we're talking physiology here, is overcome, it's difficult for somebody to get that moving on their own. And that's why I'll come to a workshop and boy, it just happened. Why couldn't I do that at home? Well, I didn't have the support, didn't have the energy present to support me being able to activate that Dekucha factor, that extra factor that takes us into high-speed, fast-forward processing. And the determiner of that is that Dekucha factor has to be kicked in, usually in still point. It will take, like if we're in a group or whatever, it'll take 15 or 20, maybe 25 minutes for the Dekucha factor to be moving deeply enough to overcome the resistance, the inertia of the resistance, and move into that process point. And it's just, depending how much time your physiology is spent in resistance, how much time you've spent in sympathetic dominance, as you let that go, it's easier and easier to just take a few breaths. Like I find, as I say, I'm doing an hour to 3 hours a day. And some days I still find it's not easy to get over that hump, get that Kutcher factor going. And other days on my third breath, it's there now. And that's new for me. So my offering would be it's just practice and letting go of the resistance, learning to soften tissue. You know, part of the quantum still point is learning to shift the what we've categorized as pain out of pain. And anybody can do this at any time, where you experience pain in your physiology to recognize this is just an energy moving in my physiology. If I make it pain, I just added a layer and a level of resistance to it. Whereas if I shift my mind to, there's an energy moving through my leg. It creates a sensation when it moves. All right. So if I can be with that as a sensation, I just remove the whole mental component of resistance. And the more I can remove that resistance, the easier that Kutcher factor will kick in. That's my best understanding right now. I may have a different experience of that tomorrow and change my mind, but that's what I'm understanding at this point. It's my best understanding.
And then can I just add one thing, Michael, with the,
Please.
with the group being there too, the vitality level was raised very high.
Exactly.
So each of
Yeah,
us having,
that's what helps
we could all
overcome the
be at,
resistance.
we could all be at 5s on a
Yep.
scale of 1 to 10, but you add up everybody that was there. So the opportunity for the veil to be lifted in that setting. That's
Yep,
why That's
exactly.
why group work is so powerful. And
Yeah.
I do participate in another breath work process, holiotropic breath, and there's usually 20 of us. And someone's a sitter when you're breathing, and you're a sitter for someone who's breathing, and then you pair up, and then you alternate, then you become the breather.
Right.
And the amount of volume of transformation that happens in those settings is huge.
Yeah, the vitality. That's it. Somebody needs support to boost their vitality to get over
Right.
the resistance. So
And that's what happened.
So
We
that's
got to
part of-
observe that. Right?
Yeah, great point. Yes.
that's part of why we start out with the love exchange.
Yeah.
Do a love exchange with yourself, everybody else in the group, with the world. When you start breathing, and that softens that resistance and
Yeah.
elevates vitality. And of course, if someone's there to hold the space, well, instead of starting off at a base of our own vitality level, let's say we're at a 3 or 4 or 5. If somebody else is there who's at a 3 or 4 or 5, and we add ours together, and all of a sudden we're at a 7. Well,
Yeah.
that makes it massively easier to move the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Joan, you had a question
grateful.
for us? Oh, go ahead, Lucy.
No, I just said grateful.
Oh, honored, delighted.
I think
Joan, you had a thought for us?
I think
Yes,
Joan had a question. Then I have a question. I have a question for you I want help with.
My question was, how do you understand the Holy Spirit to be used in A Course in Miracles?
My input to people is everywhere you read the words Holy Spirit, just substitute the breath. The
Okay.
people who took down the course, my take would be they were so imbued with this Western Greek culture that the mind just misinterprets according to the brain cells that are there. So
Right.
everywhere that either the scriptures or anything refers to the Holy Spirit, recognize if you want the real thing, there's with words, we had the breath of life that was in our nostrils taken away from us. Because if you say to the average person, well, just ask the Holy Spirit for help, they'll go, oh, Holy Spirit, help me. But the words Holy Spirit are an incorrect, they're a misnomer. Ask the breath to help you. Bring the breath into action and activity. Now you've got the real thing, rather than the Greek mislead that has us not even being aware that what we're being told by the master to ask help with is with the breath. We've been led off into a pasture somewhere else, and now it's something that's outside of us. In Aramaic, it was relational. You had a direct connection in your physiology to the Creator. The Greeks, totally different cosmology. And with their cosmology, the gods were all out there. And of course, you had to do the right thing. You had to please them. You had to obey them, blah, 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 blah. You had to be fearful of their punishment, et cetera, et cetera. And you had to do sort of some kind of supplication. But that's not Yeshua. It's within us. It's within our own nostrils. And so just substitute the word breath, and I think you're on track. And, if you try that, feedback to me what you think, how it works for you, what happens.
Oh, Joan, you're looking so pretty today. Look at you with your makeup in green. You look lovely. Yeah, you're on mute, but I did see the thank you. I saw you. You mouthed the thank you, but yeah, you look very lovely. And the little flower on your lapel, it's a rose. Oh my gosh, the Divine Mother herself.
It's not St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So I just further to what you said, then I'm going to get to my question. So what I perceive now, what we did, because of course we separated from God, and then we went and made an image
We
in
held our breath.
mind. Right, we separated from God. We made an image in our mind, and then we created that separation and externalized on the outer world, and we separated from the truth that the breath is the divine one, right? The great revealer. And so we all separated as far in separation, and now we're coming home to remember the truth that we are one, we are the breath, and we are the current, even though we're individualized as beings in these vessels we call bodies. It still is the return to knowing that we are the one with God. And now my question. So, and by the way, Lucy, I want to point something out. So, since the breath work, so much like deep stuff is coming, like processing in a big way. So for everybody, when we get to participate and watch someone else go through their process, it also is the opportunity and deeply enhances our own process. So I want to thank you for that, because it's going so deep down, lots of tears, lots of just and working through all of that. So I just appreciate you for your willingness and everyone being there. So what is now to my question, what is the difference between knowing and understanding? So I know logically, to me, understanding means to comprehend. When I understand something, I comprehend it.
Right.
Okay, and then for me, when I know something, it's embodied to me. It's no one can throw me off my truth because I know it. It's a felt sense of it. And I wanted to just know your thoughts or other people's thoughts. And because there's obviously in the language, there's a distinction between those two words, and I see people use them interchangeably.
They can't be.
Yeah, to me, there's distinction on purpose, and I want to get to the truth of what the energy of those two words are representing. Right now, understanding is a mental construct for me. That's a mind gets it, it's a comprehension. And to know something, it's embodied in the heart space.
Well, it's interesting. You bring forward a quote from Einstein. He says, any fool can know. The idea is to understand.
Oh. So tell me
So
more.
I can put information in my mind.
Yeah.
Let's take a 6-year-old child.
Yeah.
And we bring him into the X-ray technician's room. And there is this device. And the child knows there's a device there, sees it, and goes, oh, glass, a piece of wire, some knobs, a plug. Okay, I know that. Let's bring in a PhD in astrophysics into the same place. And the PhD in astrophysics goes in and looks and goes, wires, metal, knobs. I think it's an X-ray machine. You bring in, and so that person knows. You bring in the X-ray technician, and now you have a piece of diagnostic equipment which can bring healing to people. The X-ray technician understands.
So, okay, so I feel, I see this is confusing. Right?
Becomes functional.
So,
I
but
mean,
to know,
everybody knows there's a thing called breath. Everybody knows that. Everybody's got that knowledge.
okay, but I want
And
to
everybody knows that
understand.
everything breathes or it's dead.
Okay,
But
but there's,
do
I
they
think that,
understand what it really means?
but there's,
Can they
so
really make it functional?
something's not landing. And I just want to flesh this out because for whatever
Yeah,
reason, it's really
go for it.
important. So, okay, so to understand something, is that not still just in the mental construct, in the mental plane? If I
I
understand it,
don't.
I'm what, okay, so tell me more about that because the
My take
energy's
would
not
be that
matching.
there is a piece in the of it that is a mental construct, but then there's being that has a comprehension.
But is so to be aware of something is that also a knowing? If you're aware of it, that's to know also, correct?
Awareness, I think I would say that awareness and knowing would be close closer to being exchangeable words than knowing and understanding.
Okay, so now I just want to go back to what you said so I to land it in my mind. So let's say I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the computer. I know this is a computer. Okay, then I'm looking at a computer and I see all the people on the screen. I know that. And help me understand how that relates to comprehension or yeah, help me to see how does that interplay with understanding and also the deeper awareness of it. Like I have an awareness right now that I can sense energy. There's an awareness here, and I can sense the energies coming off. I'm going to say even the screens of the people. I experience it. That's a knowing, is it not?
I would classify that as knowing, yes,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean I can function fully with it.
Yeah.
Where when we're in direct contact with the actuality, the awareness of that goes beyond the 9-bit mind, goes beyond carbon-based memory, and it includes perception that doesn't stand in the way of presence and full comprehension,
And
full understanding of have you ever read or are you familiar with a book called Stranger in a Strange Land by Richard Heinlein?
no.
So Richard Heinlein was a science fiction writer, and it's a cool book. And it's a story about a man who comes from the moon. I think he's the moon or Mars or somewhere. He comes to Earth. He's like a human, except that his culture, his knowing is so different that he runs across all kinds of things that are normal to us on Earth, but he has not a clue. And so what he does is he draws everything inside of him. He comes across something new. He draws everything inside himself and he groks what this new thing is.
Yeah.
So it to me would represent a direct knowing from being of the fullness of whatever this is that I'm looking at. Like the X-ray technician has the full understanding of what this is and what can be done with it and can use it to help people to heal.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest PhD in astrophysics isn't going to have a clue what to do with that thing.
Yeah.
So it's an integration of knowing from being
That's
beyond
what
the
this is.
9-bit mind.
Yeah. That's what this is about. There's and I in my field, the way I'm going to describe it, energetically, I know there's an importance for me to define in this mind.
Right.
And
Sure.
then, and yet there's three parts to it. I've got understanding, and then there's a perceptual knowing, and then there's the actual knowing that I'm wrestling with. And then also, how does that link to direct experience? Because to me right now, when I have a directive, for example, I get information from the higher mind. That's a knowing. It's cognizance, right? It's a clear cognizance. I know it. I know it. I know it. So that's what I'm trying to understand because I just know it. And then landing that also into the perceptual knowing with the understanding, and then in this human there is the direct experience of what's happening for me. And then how, when I have a direct experience of something, so I'm sitting on the chair, I'm having a direct experience talking to this group right now. That's a direct experience of it. Like I'm in my body, I'm feeling it, I'm sensing it, all of that. And then it's got to be, this information or this experience is being filed through the mind.
My take there
Yeah.
would be that knowing
Mhm.
I have this piece of information can still be misused because it has not been fully grokked,
And grok means integrated. Is that right? When you say
fully
grok?
integrated, fully experienced. Direct.
That's the key. That seems to be
That's the key. Yeah.
So this is landing, like it's coming in all areas for me right now. So and I'm studying the gene keys and just right on time. This about integration in the three. Where we develop these energetic patterns in the womb, we bring them in the first trimester, and then you go through 7-year cycles, 0 to 7, 7 to 14, and then 14 to 21, when you move through the developmental ages into adulthood. And the whole purpose is to become whole, integrated, to be holy, to be fully integrated. And all of these little pieces are so important in how they land in through the physical, who we are physically, and how it moves into the energetic bodies and then lands in the soul. And and this is still unpacking. So, but and my humanness, the way it's inverted to what the language is saying, because to me, what my perception was, if I understand something, I comprehend it. And then now I get to see a layer of to know it. Here, this stuff is here, I can see it. And then the next step is the higher knowing. And it's the merging of all three of those to become whole, to become one, is what I'm going through right now. I know that might not make sense to people, but
No, it makes perfect sense. And you remember the conversation we had a few weeks ago about midrash.
yeah.
That process, this is what we're doing right now. This is midrash.
Okay.
This is, to be in the subtlety of that energy that, is being grokked by everybody. And revelation, unfolds as direct contact with the actuality, and with awareness resting in the vastness of what is. It's beyond remembered perception. It's beyond intellectual knowing, and it's breathed as living presence.
That's it. Yeah, it's a breath. And so, breathe as living presence. That's it right there. That's now. And I realized, especially with Lucy's work, and it's been happening when you assisted me with what was going through my father's stuff. That's exactly it. To become the living presence, embodied, and I can see in the human body. I never fully incarnated here. And from the beginning, I'm seeing now, right from when the biblical cord was around my neck. And then I died for a minute, and I was with the guides, and they said, you have to go in there. And I'm like, I'm not going back in there, but they gave me a life review of a life showing me what's coming, but it has to start there. This is the entry point.
And you can't leave this part behind.
And I'm like, oh, are you, what? I got what? Even though I committed that I would do it, and I still don't know. I didn't get to see the end yet. I didn't get to
feel,
see who.
Feel the sound you just made, the sound. And you went, feel that. And what is it? It's resistance.
Yeah, it was painful to come into this. It was extremely painful to enter this reality.
So now, did you shift your mind, go back to that sound when you were told I have to go in there?
Yeah.
And go, oh, there are going to be some very intense sensations here. I can breathe into and handle this intensity. Sure,
well,
I can.
I guess I'm in the game now at my 60 rotations around the
you
sun.
don't have any choice now.
I made it this far. And yes, I can handle it. Yes, I'm willing, obviously. And I did. Thank you. I can breathe into that.
A lot of people, when intensity shows up, they relate it to pain. That's why that piece in the quantum still point training is to let go of that definition of pain. It's just a sensation.
It was a sensation.
Here's a sensation.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And that's letting go of that is, I don't know what the percentage would be, but my first inclination is a statement from the culture of it's half the battle of overcoming Satan, overcoming the resistance. It might be 90%, maybe even 100% of the battle, but
Yeah, that's so that resistance was right there coming in, resistance even in that moment and carrying that through all the way to here. So
no.
this not fully incarnating into this body. I feel it. I'm going through right now. Yeah, it's if you imagine it was be if you looked at the center of my I'm gonna call it's called the Sushumna, but the energetic cord that runs through the entire body. It's like it's in separation. The left and the right hemisphere are not in alignment. They're not unified or balanced yet, but it's coming from a very deep place, which is what I've projected out into my world, into this being. And now what's happening, as I keep clearing all that is Satan, all the layering, it's moving now, that it's starting to thaw. And then where it was like ice, which you've said before, bringing Ruka to it, it takes the heat of Ruka and it is thawing the freezing of Satan. So the energy is being allowed to flow through love. And
So
then
notice physiologically,
yeah,
right now as you take a breath,
yeah,
where those stuck points are, where that
yeah. It's on the right side. It's right behind my sacred
lockdown
heart.
is.
Yeah.
So
My
can you
hip.
go into that sensation? Gently relax your jaw,
Yeah.
let everything of resistance go, and just let yourself breathe all the way into that.
Yeah.
And with that correction comes alignment. Remember, there are two things involved. There's breath and there's alignment that are both part of the quantum process.
Yeah, there's all kinds of tingling going on in the right on my crown. And yeah, it's
And the language itself breathes.
yeah.
Inspiration speaks.
And I just heard you know. You know, I heard in my head. You already know.
It's not constructed by perception, by the mind.
Yeah.
It's just life. It's alignment.
Yeah.
It's known.
It's knowing. That's it. It's beyond comprehension. It's beyond thinking. It's
Yes.
beyond it's all. So what I'm landing right now, because I can feel this state of awareness, this knowing is beyond mind. It's also beyond perception.
Yes.
It's
Well, the
so
idea is to be out of your mind,
yeah,
collapse
yeah,
perception, get that sucker out of the way.
yeah. That's it. And it's just standing in the stillness of breath.
So it's not
Yeah,
something that's originated as stored perception out of carbon-based memory,
exactly.
but revelation, direct contact with the enlivening vibratory field itself.
That's it.
And you rest in what is, way beyond the limited construct assembled from the past. And now, creation proceeds freshly. It's new moment by moment.
Yeah.
Presence knowing and expressing itself. And language reflecting the fullness of the breath delivers that presence of love and carries the meaning of that through every cell in our structure, through every aspect of our genetics. It's like a living alignment, our birthright. The breath, the living presence of life. And that living presence of life, whatever goes on, let go of the need to tighten around it, to restrict, to go into resistance, and allow yourself to keep that breath moving as awareness, inspiration, and knowing. Then creation touches us directly.
Yeah.
Not memory, not concept, but actuality in the moment.
Yeah, thank you for that because I realized for whatever reason, the mind construct wouldn't let that go through the veil to the truth of it.
Resistance.
It was
That's Satan
resisting
you're talking
until
about.
for whatever reason, the truth had to line up.
Yeah.
I don't know, energetically, so this could open. Yeah, thank you. That's
The veil of the temple must be rent in twain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a living exchange. Carbon-based memory loosens its hold, its resistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it creates a space where the vastness of the actuality can enter us, writes meanings in our minds, but meanings that are in alignment with being rather than
Exactly.
counting on some sort of past function to escape pain or have control. Or, when we talked about most people have never used language or words for what words are designed for, communication. To take a picture I have in my mind and place it intact in your mind. Most people have never used words for that. They use words for winning, overpowering, getting, and all that needs to be just breathed through and deleted. So creation unfolds fresh at every moment. It's a life alive, not, I had this wonderful experience in the past. I'm going to see if I can replicate it.
Yeah.
Letting go of the replicant mind.
And I just feel like right now, I just said I feel a state of presence in the knowing, in the truth. Like the knowing, I can feel it right now in the knowing. And this, whatever's integrating in the physiology. Yeah, that's so helpful. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
walking me through that. Because,
Honored. Thank you for developing the question so we could have the conversation for the whole community. And by the way, in Aramaic, the words that the Greeks translated as the kingdom of heaven, like some space off in time somewhere after death, the words simply mean the community of love. That's what we're working to develop here. That's what we're working to build, is that community.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Thanks.
And spread it globally.
That's it. Every heart, mind on the planet. That's
Yep.
I'm with you, brother.
Mm.
We signed up for this. We remember I got the written contract in my soul, just so you know.
There you go.
Everybody here, it's written. I'll just pull it out onto the soul. It's here. Yeah, thanks so much.
And recognizing when there's confusion, when there's incoherence in the mind, go back to the breath, and the breath is what delivers coherence.
Mm-hmm.
And in that coherent state, we rest in revelation.
Yeah.
Direct contact with what is, rather than making up stories out of carbon-based memories past.
Yeah. And also the vitality level of the group that I could hold, so I could come to a different, to process through this piece. I don't know if I would have found it on my own, but everybody holding space as I talked through it and felt the energy of it. Yeah, very helpful. So thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thanks for having developed the brain cells to be in the question. There's another thing that Einstein says. Somebody asked him at one point, if you were given a problem to solve and you had 1 hour to do it, or you'd be dead, what would you do? And he said, I'd take the first 55 minutes of that problem, or the first 55 minutes of that hour, and I would determine what were the most important questions to ask. And then I'd spend 5 minutes solving the problem. So to me, one of the beauties of this radio show, one of the appreciations I have for getting to do this work, is I don't have to develop all the questions myself. That I get to participate with so many people. And I mean, literally over all the years of developing this work, so many people who brought, well, what about this? And so every person that speaks, every person that comes and brings their questions to this show gives the whole community an opportunity to experience the answer. As carbon-based memories relaxed its grip, the 9-bit mind's construct give way and enters the vastness of actuality. Not measured in fragments of remembered data like carbon-based memory does it, but the actual fullness of what is in the actuality. And then language arises as breath made audible. We became speaking beings. Thought moves as inspiration. Action flows from alignment. Revelation becomes the ground that we live in. And creation unfolds as the activity of love in motion. So breathing with everybody and appreciating our time once more. What a gift. So blessed. Anyone else have another quick thought before we say sayonara for today? All right.
Michael, so I know that I need to like release on this part multiple times, at least a couple of times. Well, like if I missed if you said it because I was thinking in a process, can I say that knowingness it equals, or at least partially equals intuition? Because how many times like I know, and why I know I even don't know, but it then proved to be accurate. Like I had example very for like young in life, maybe I was 19, I had this neighbor really quick, and he was World War II veteran. And I remember he was saying that like make sure you always listen to your intuition. And I said like
Right.
what does it mean? Even though, well, doesn't matter, even though. So what does it mean? He said, you know what? I had twice in the war, I had to be dead. Like like it's many times in the war,
Right.
could be dead, but twice when we actually on this hill and it's snow and my little group wants to go left. We hear from the right is like Germans shooting. And then something didn't let me to go there. I went to the right and everybody died but me. And that happened a couple of times, something like that. Isn't that knowingness? Like
I would call
in my
that,
language call it knowingness as well as
I
intuition.
would call it guidance.
Okay, so
Again, I know the X-ray. I don't know anything about using an X-ray machine. I know the X-ray machine's there. I know it's an X-ray machine. But to me, that would be listening to my intuitive guidance,
Or in the inner
being
sense,
aware of
right?
this
So-
still small voice. Yeah.
But isn't that
And
inner
living
knowing?
from
I'm with
being.
you. I still feel it, Lucy. There's an inner knowing. Yeah.
see what I mean? That's why this is where I thought maybe I need to release and I didn't get it. But like I just also don't want to misuse words if it's
Yeah.
not, but like it doesn't sound like it's misusing. It's
You
maybe
breathing?
I think there's a midrash here of what I can sense. There's a midrash here to get to the truth of what is through our exchange and everybody. It's the energy of what's to be expressed, and I sense it's to be revealed yet. But how we've been
In your
using
breath.
these words, how we've been using them, I would say the accuracy of it. That's the key. Our perceptual accuracy is not in aligned with actuality at present. But I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, the breath is the only one that can give you that gift.
Yeah, and so it'll be revealed
Direct.
for all of us. What it'll come, through our work to see if we're wrestling with these concepts or these definition of words, or it's the energy behind the words, and it's not fully there. I can feel it's still off. It's not. It's when things lock in for me, it's like it's there, but it's not there yet. So, but it will be. We'll all find it. I know.
Probably go and do some still point breathing.
I am going to do it.
And the intelligence will tell you exactly what it is you're looking for. And if there's a block to understanding it, let that Takucha factor kick in and that block will break down just like that.
Yeah, exactly. I did have the felt sense earlier when you were going through that. The inner sense of presence, it was there. And for me right now, it's still I'm referring to it as the inner knowing. It's the inner, yeah. And
Well, that's
and
the
also
perfect
God
word.
said to me, this is where I know why I'm tripped up, because God said to me, or he said to me, I must trust your no before I give you your yes. And so I assumed that was boundaries, and oh, great. And then of course the 8 months later, I'm like, oh, it's my KNOW, the Niao. The Hawaiians talk it as the Niao. That's an inner cognizance that no one can ever take away. And that's what then when I said, oh, my no, my inner knowing. Oh, oh, I get it. So that's yeah. And it's the Niao.
Now go back. Now go back and listen to the show we did on the Beatitudes, the quantum Beatitudes. And each of the Beatitudes starts out with a three-part word. The word is tuvehun. The Greeks translated as blessed are they, but tuv is that inner knowing. And what that word said, that the whole Beatitudes is a set of instructions for getting that tuv, which in most of us is unconscious, active. So each of the Beatitudes is, here's how you get this tuv active. And so if we break down that tuvehun, the word properly translated is a latent neural structure implanted by God, the Niao, becomes your conscious possession, Yuhu, and then what's the first instruction? Have your home in the breath.
Yeah.
Create a clean and purified mind. There's a whole set of instructions there. So.
And we all have the Neo. Every one of us has it. Now it's been overlaid by the false identity of man. And
exactly.
So we then have been taught not to trust our inner Neo. And I'm going to probably refer to Neo now because that's landing completely in locked in, loaded. That the Neo.
Yeah, kings don't want you to know that's even there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's right. And we've been all, and I remember my journey of my awakening, constantly doubting my own intuition because that was bred out of me as a child. That inner sense and being able to interchange. First of all, you learn to interchange physically with the environment from 0 to 7. Your skeleton is being built, all of the stuff, the muscles, all that. And then the next 7 years, it's the emotional exchange with the environment. You learn about your sexuality, etc. And then the last 7 years from 14 to 21 is really honing in the mental construct of the mind. And initially in development, that intuition, and also I look back now because there was trauma where people lied in my presence. They told me what happened didn't happen.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, I must have got it wrong. So then guess what? I lived in an imagination story that those events that were trauma-based did not occur. I must have had it wrong. Or what I know we've experienced is I'll walk in a room and I can sense somebody's really sad and they go, oh no, I'm fine. We lie in the world. We constantly lying, so we're doubting
the whole world
our
is a world of
intuition.
liars.
We are, and I can sense it, and I would think, oh, I must have it wrong. No, now I don't. I know that my Neo knows. And now my meaning making of it, that's the part that I'm uncoupling from, because the meaning I say it is, that could be off. But my sensitivity to energy is very acute, and my Neo knows. And that's the part that we're all intended to live from. That's the true state of being locked and loaded with Ruka and letting that be the guidance of our physical field, our emotional field, and our mental field. So then we can collapse perception and live in actuality, and then, in actuality with Ruka, to who we truly are.
And
that's helpful.
Kings want to take that over and own it. In every one of their population. Go back to that whole story about Samuel. And, the people want Samuel to make them a king.
Yeah.
And Samuel goes to God, and God says, he says, these people want a king. And God says, well, if that's what they want, go for it. But let me tell you what's going to happen if they take a king. Go check that passage out in Samuel. The Creator says to Samuel, your men are going to become soldiers. Your women are going to become slaves. Blah, 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 blah. There's a whole thing. So if you want to have a king, go for it. You want to give up relationship with me, true knowing, direct? You want to give up your breath? Okay, well, It's up to you, but Sam warned them before you appoint that king. And he warned them, and they said, give us a king.
And you know what this tells me? Because we're all kings and queens and inside our being. We're never left, and yet what do? We project this reality, and we go and externalize it and live in separation. And we've let our power be consumed by the outer world when all the power is within.
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
go
not
read
so
that
sure.
story.
Yeah, I'm not so sure we're kings or queens, but we're
Yes.
the offspring of the king, the queen,
Yeah.
the kingdom and the queendom is within us.
Well, the kingdom's within, right? The kingdom's within. Go to the kingdom within, and all will be revealed. Doesn't the Bible say something about that? So if that's within, we are the kingdom.
The breath within me does the works.
Yeah, but we are the breath. This is the piece. We are it.
That's
We're
it.
not in separation from it. We're a fractal of it. And then when we come into, if we get to ride the wave, and I keep seeing it as a current. So when I'm in my mind and I come back to the current of the breath and I just rest in it, and then I allow the current to carry me, because that is me. Not
And
the
when
same
we were taught to
quantity.
disconnect from it, we were in trouble.
Yeah, not the same quantity, but definitely the same quality.
Yeah.
The potentiality of the exact quality that is being within the kingdom that resides in this tiny little fractal that I call Susan Fluick, in this illusory world that I call Earth in Prince George, British Columbia.
Children of the king and queen. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, you
Have a
guys. Oh
blessed
my
one.
gosh, this is going to
Alrighty.
be, I'm excited to see what gets revealed. Have a good one.
Cool.